Good morning, everyone, and welcome once again to our Sunday Conscious Conversations with Charlotte. I'm Charlotte, and I'm really grateful. This is the first time I've actually had two guests at one time here on Sunday morning. And last week, Brad and Ann, you all were not here to defend yourself because as I was announcing it, I said, oh, we're going to have a threesome next week. So this is very exciting.
Especially for me.
So we're just going to have a three-way here, and it's going to be just a good time had by all. And I'd like to first introduce Brad and Ann because I've known you guys almost as long as I've lived here.
Yes.
And you all have been wonderful inspirations, not only to me, but to many people that I know, and well beyond these walls and well beyond this group, because you all actually have an international life coaching, Life on Purpose Institute, and that reaches far beyond this area all around the world, correct?
That's correct.
It
Yes,
does.
for
Yeah,
sure.
that is fantastic. So this is Dr. Brad Swift and his wife, Ann. And Ann is actually, I'm going to give you a plug again, Ann, because I think it's just so wonderful that Fitness for the Body, Mind, and Soul here in Hendersonville. Ann is one of our Zumba teachers. She teaches Zumba Gold. And I'd like to just start, we'll just get this out of the way, but tell your Zumba story because it's wonderful.
Okay, well, Lori Hernandez, I met Lori through Charlotte, and when Ellen told me about Zumba, and so she said, come take Zumba, it's so fun. And so I said, well, I'm into fun, I like that idea. So I went, and I thought I was going to die. I could not breathe, I could not do all the exercises. But weeks later, I was talking to Lori, and Lori said, I'm just not able to keep up. I need more Zumba leaders. And I had just put down on my bucket list, I would like to teach a Zumba class. She said, go get certified, I'll give you a class, you can teach Zumba. So I did. I now teach Zumba Gold, and it has been I've been teaching for over a year now. And it really, be careful what you put on your bucket list because it will come true. I thought teaching a class was what I was going to do, not teach it ongoingly. But it's been wonderful. My health has improved, and I've lost 28 pounds. I'm wearing a dress I couldn't wear, a year ago. And it's just wonderful and fun. It's part of my life purpose is to have fun in life, so it's really, really great.
Yes, indeed, and I'm so proud of you, and I know that really is in alignment with what we're going to be talking about here today, because life purpose and living to our fullest and best potential. And Brad, I also want to, before we get into our conversation, which is clarity of purpose, don't live life without it. Did I get that right?
That's right.
Which is a great title, and because how many of us really are clear, which we'll find out more about. But I love your story as well about how you and Ann got to the point where you started this. You were a veterinarian before this all occurred, correct?
Yes, I didn't know about bucket lists back when I was 7 years old, but I had, a dream to become a veterinarian starting when I was about 7, and I sometimes say I didn't have enough imagination to think about anything else until I had become a vet at about 23, 24 when I graduated from the University of Georgia. But the other thing that happened that really led to, Life on Purpose Institute being founded was I burned out as a veterinarian. At about 12, 13 years into my veterinary practice, I had really grown to the point I wasn't sure whether I could stand going into the office another day. It had gotten that bad. Now the stress and strains of the practice, and not only the medical part of it, but the business part, those two combinations, really took its toll. And I got to the point where I started to, in an effort to numb the pain that I was experiencing, started to abuse first alcohol and then drugs. And as a veterinarian, you can get some really pretty exotic drugs. And it got so bad at one point that I seriously contemplating taking my own life. And luckily, there was an evening when I was very much on the, the tip end of that when a friend found me lying in my bathroom floor, sobbing, wishing I had a gun so I could end it, and offered to get me help. And when there's only one direction to go, it's fairly easy to figure out which direction to head. So I said yes, and that led me to working with what I would consider kind of somewhat a non-traditional therapist, which then led me to discovering coaching and both in business coaching and in life coaching, and there was a turnaround. Now the turnaround didn't happen in 6 weeks; it was more like 2 or 3 years. But at some point, at that turnaround point, I started to reflect back on what had allowed for that kind of really for me a dramatic transformation in my life, and I recognized there were three aspects that kind of came together. One was recognizing that what had been missing for me that had led to the burnout was I had lost that sense of purpose and meaning to my life, and had misidentified my profession as my life purpose, and we'll talk more about that probably as we go along. And secondly, I just discovered the power of working with coaching and life coaching, and then also getting back to my spiritual roots, really reconnecting with my spiritual beliefs. And so eventually I said, well, what would happen if I married those three together into what now is known as Life on Purpose Coaching and the Life on Purpose Institute. So, I'm one of those person who teaches what he most needs to learn himself.
Mm-hmm. Don't we all? And I find that in my practice, and like to hear your all's feedback on this too, you find a lot of times before not that we have to, but we usually have to fall to our knees before we make the changes that move us to the next level. You find that a lot?
Yeah, and I think what you're pointing to is yes, and we don't have to. That's what we talked about, in our radio interview with you the other day. Okay, you don't have to wait till you're on the verge of, taking your own life to turn it around. More and more, I think people are becoming much more sensitive and aware of what I kind of term divine discontent. Life is good, and yet, that kind of, and there's something else calling you. And that's for me, more and more people finding their way to Life on Purpose Institute through our website are coming there not on the verge of overwhelm, not on the verge of suicide, but just knowing that there's something else calling to them, and they are ready to embrace that.
And that's a good thing, thank God, right?
Yes.
Yes, well, literally, yes indeed. Well, Ann, so you've got, I know that you and Brad both do coaching, personal coaching, and so if someone came to you, for example, and said, Ann, I really don't know what I'm going to do next. I want to do Zumba. I want to start a Life on Purpose Institute, whatever. How do you approach that? What do you start with these people?
Well, it's a great question because many people, on our website, we have self-tests and we have where someone can come and have a complimentary coaching session with us. And one of the things that people often say in those initial complimentary sessions is that they'll say, well, I don't know what career I'm supposed to be doing, and I don't know what, and we actually distinguish a life purpose separate from your career, because we say, if it's a life purpose, shouldn't it include all of your life, not just your work life? And so it's really one of those things that I then talk with people about. What if your life purpose isn't about what you're supposed to do, but who you are, the essence of who you are, and who you're supposed to be in life, so that you can be that, whether you're a mother or a partner or your work life, but you're being that all the time, not just on certain occasions. So that's a big aha for most people when they come to us, when they really go, oh yeah, that makes sense. I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yes. Well, and that reminds me of the quote by T. Harv Eker. It says, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Exactly.
So it's we carry who we are into every aspect of our life. So I love the idea you go right to that first rather than out here, which I know we discussed the other day. That gets me back to the law of attraction and where this fits into all of this, because so often, you know, from The Secret and other law of attraction teachings, it's like, oh, I want that car, that relationship, and everything is externally motivated. So where would you comment on that? What's that really mean?
Well, I think for us, the clarity of purpose, as we talk about it, really knowing with crystal clarity who you are and what you're here for and how you choose to express it, is the key, in many cases, the key missing ingredients that has the law of attraction work so much more effectively. Because when you have that clarity of purpose, you know what you want to attract. You want to attract all the resources that are, you know, that are infinitely available to all of us, that will support you in living your life on purpose. So it's kind of the missing, you know, the missing element for many people, because we also make a distinction in the life on purpose process, which really is the foundation of all of our coaching work, that you have actually two purposes, in that you have two very powerful forces that can shape and form and you know, your life. You have your true purpose, or as we like to refer to it, your divinely inspired life purpose, because it's, you know, the essence of who you truly are and is based in universal love. But then you have this other powerful force that shapes your life called the inherited purpose. And the inherited purpose isn't based in universal love, but is instead based in fear, a sense of lack, and leads to a lot of struggling to just kind of make it or survive. So it's that inherited purpose that can also shape your life, and if you're not clear about your true purpose, you can end up attracting a lot of things that are actually coming from your inherited purpose, not from what's going to, you know, really serve your divine purpose.
So your inherited purpose may be also your subconscious mind, your programs. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, your inherited. The reason we term it your inherited purpose, it gets formed very early in your life, and that's, you know, early. You know, as the Wonder Bread commercials used to say, those early formative years, and usually by mid-teenage years, it's well formed, and then it operates often in the background of your awareness. You know, so whenever you feel suddenly threatened or unsafe as an adult, all those old programming tapes of, you know, old beliefs and thoughts and feelings come over to start to say, okay, I need to do this, or I have to do this, or I can't possibly do that, and it starts to pull the strings, you know, of the puppet down there on the stage, and you're not even aware that you're being, you know, pulled around.
Yeah, it's totally unconscious in many ways.
Oftentimes.
So oftentimes.
Yeah.
So Anne, someone's got a strong inherited purpose. How do we change it?
Well, first, you know, it's important to identify, you know, and recognize that you have one, because if you're going around and not even aware, I relate it to like having an antivirus program on your computer. You don't sit around looking at that program going, is it working, is it working? It's just running in the background on your computer. Well, your inherited purpose is doing that to your life. And it's something that really is a default mechanism. It's not something that you have to work at. It happens in a snap. And to give you an example, years ago, I was in Chicago attending a conference. And I had to run from the conference down the street to a drugstore, pick something up, and then go back. And now, you know, it's like one of those few trips I'd ever been on alone. I didn't have somebody I was traveling with. And here I am, this little old southern girl up in the big city, and you know, it's kind of scary being out there. And I was aware of that. So I walked down to the drugstore, and I see this scary looking character coming toward me, you know? And this tells you how automatic the inherited purpose is, to make you do things that you don't really want to do. So I'm walking down, and I go, just look at the ground, look at the ground, look at the ground. Just keep walking, look at the ground, look at the ground. I get within 3 feet of this guy, and I automatically look up and go, hi! You know, and it was like horrifying for me because I couldn't stop myself. Now, that was not a terrible thing to do. You know, it all went okay. He didn't, you know, like, how dare you speak to me or anything like, oh, you're fine. But, you know, it's when we catch ourselves doing those crazy things, you know, like, you know, I just wanted to look at the ground and keep on walking. And that's how automatic our inherited purpose is, that, you know, we just snap into it and we don't have a choice about it. So the first thing is to recognize it, be aware of it, so that you can identify it and then start to do something about it. We have what we call the purposeful pivot, where we teach people, because you're never going to ever completely get rid of your inherited purpose, bad news, but that's also good news because you'll know how to recognize it and shift from it. And it's really, really important to recognize it, because if you can't recognize it, you can't do anything about it. And back then, years ago, when I did that, I didn't have a choice about it. I didn't even know what an inherited purpose was. This was before I even met Brad. So, you know, so it's one of those times I remembered, like, that was the weirdest thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think the awareness is the key, and that we don't have to be driven by those programs. We have another way to do it.
Exactly.
So that's wonderful news. And I know one thing that we talked about the other day is when people do make a decision, they want their lives to be different. I mean, we all inherently want happiness, we want peace, we want everyone to have that, really. But so why don't we do it? I know you talk about 4 obstacles. What keeps us from really living this life?
Well, you know, one of the first obstacles is not asking the question. And, you know, the good news here on that is you've already bypassed that when you've gone beyond that, because you're here, you're here at least curious about this notion of living a life on purpose and having clarity of purpose. But for many people still, they're not asking the question. They're still so frenetically busy, so much caught up in survival or just the day-to-day living of their inherited purpose that they haven't started asking the question. Now, I will make note, since we are on this, 9/11, 10 years after, we noticed a perceptible shift in consciousness and the conversation about life purpose after 9/11. After the initial shock and the initial first few weeks, people, I think a lot of people woke up at that point and said, wow, life is pretty fragile. Life can, be gone in a moment. What is my life going to be for? So I think that's had a big shift in, fewer and fewer people are not asking the question, but we still got a ways to go. Still got a few billion people that are stuck in that first obstacle. Mm-hmm. The second obstacle we've kind of touched on, again, is what I would say is misidentifying your life purpose. Thinking your life purpose is your career. I'm grateful for that, because that's, if somebody had asked me any time from the age of 7 to about 37, do you know what your purpose in life is? I would say, sure. It's to practice veterinary medicine. And yet, as Ann pointed to, your life purpose, I think nowadays our definition of life purpose is evolving to be much more holistic, much more expansive, so that it's really more about not what you're here to do, but more about who you're here to be. Or another way we say it is, your life purpose is the context or the vessel or container into which you can pour your life, which then shapes you and everything that you choose to do. Each and every moment, can be then shaped by your life purpose. So that can be another, pretty dramatic shift if you're spending all your time, looking for love in all the wrong places, so to speak. You're looking for your life purpose under the street lamp of doing, when where it really is over there under, in the darker alley of being, where a lot of us are pretty scared to go. If I really find out who I am, what if I don't like it? Well, we help you kind of through that, because that's the third obstacle, which is the inherited purpose, this fear. One of the ways I like to think of the inherited purpose is, it's the lie that you've told yourself and about life for so long that you've come to believe it to be true. And it's not. So when you can really, do that work of uncovering your inherited purpose. And each of us has a unique inherited purpose because we each have a unique experience of life growing up. This was illustrated really well several years ago. We had one of our life purpose coaches in Canada who was leading a series of workshops on the life on purpose process. And in that workshop, she had two identical twins that were born within moments of each other, raised by the same parents in the same house, same environment. But when they got to uncovering their inherited purpose, each of them had a very distinct and unique inherited purpose statement, because what they had made out about life, even though it was as identical as possible, was different. So really getting clear about what your own inherited purpose is a key step towards overcoming that that third obstacle itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fourth obstacle is, okay, I'm asking the question. I can get this kind of idea that it's more about who I am as a spiritual being and not just a doing. And I'll do the work to uncover the fear that has stopped me in the past. But now what? How does one go about really identifying one's true purpose? So there's a couple of ways that I know. There's one way that many people have used, and it's effective, and that's called trial and error. I'll try this, I'll try that, I'll try this, I'll try that. And that can work if you don't mind living and trying it out for 30 or 40 or 50 or 1 or 2 or 3 lifetimes. It can work. And then the other way is to have a process. And that's what we developed we had our 16th anniversary of Life on Purpose last month. So we developed this process that has, kind of guides people kind of with a roadmap to what their true purpose is.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
So I also know you've written 4 books, correct? Or more, probably more.
More, but
okay.
4 that I've published.
4 that you've published, okay. So one of which is this one right here, titled, aptly so, Life on Purpose.
Life on Purpose, 6
Yes.
Passages to an Inspired Life.
And it won an award.
It did. It won came out in 2007, and it was actually a finalist, for the award by U.S. News and in the self-development motivational area. And it got beat out by this little book. I don't know, probably nobody's heard of it here, but this other little book called The Secret. So maybe we should have held back publication a year. So, and it really does. I put as much as I could. Like how would I coach somebody through a process that I believe in strongly, these 6 passages of the Life on Purpose process, if I never meet them. So it's really, it's a coaching program in a book as much as I could possibly do that. And it's been very, very well received. It's has a 5-star review on Amazon, and it's done very well.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
And I know you just gave birth to this baby.
Yeah.
Spiral of Fulfillment.
Yeah, Spiral of Fulfillment was another
book.
one of those almost, 10 years delivery.
Yes.
It can be considered either the prequel or the sequel to Life on Purpose. In that if you've not read the Life on Purpose book yet, you're not even sure you're ready to kind of dive into this whole, 6 passages to get clear about your life, then the Spiral of Fulfillment can be a good place to start. Because it's a series of, I've been writing a newsletter for, I started the newsletter a year after Life on Purpose, so 15 years. So this basically the compilation of the best of the essays about living your life on purpose, and formulated in the categories of 3 areas: purposeful service, mindful abundance balanced with simplicity, and spiritual serenity. So the essays are all formulated around those 3 concepts.
Terrific.
Yeah.
And so I know we're winding down, and I want to offer an opportunity for questions,
Right.
but I want to ask you, how is it working with your husband and creating this?
Oh my, that's a question.
Yeah.
I will say that in the beginning, when we started working together, it was challenging because It takes. It was, because we had to sort out, who was going to do what and how we were going to relate to each other. And there were even times when, he said, well, I'll be your coach. And I came back and said, well, I just don't know when you're my coach and when you're my husband. And this is challenging. And he goes, well, just consider me your coach all the time. And I said, you're fired. So that was one of those challenging times. And but now that we've been working together for so long, it blends real well with our relationship. We have certain principles that we live by as coaches, and that works in our relationship. Like, one of our principles is that anything and everything can be resolved through communication. So it's just something that communication is the key for us. And then another principle we live by is being committed to each other's commitments. So, Brad was deeply, passionately, and purposefully committed to starting Life on Purpose Institute. And so I was committed to that commitment for him. And it's really, I love coaching. I love coaching people and having those aha moments when they really get their inherited purpose. And then it's delicious when someone gets their true, divinely inspired purpose. So it's been a wonderful marriage, not just for us as a relationship, but as a working couple together. So that's been good.
Well, you all obviously do it very well, because you've created quite a wonderful thing here. So I'd like to offer, does anyone have a question for Brad or Ann?
Please.
Challenge.
That's the question that we've never heard before.
Is life coaching the same as like counseling, like therapy?
I'll answer that. I have a master's degree in counseling. So I actually went back and got my master's degree in counseling because I wanted to do something that really helped people and that would make a difference. I wanted something that wasn't just about, okay, we're going to go back and look at your childhood and, sort through all the past. And then once I got my master's degree, I discovered coaching. And then that was really the answer for me, because a lot of the way I was taught for counseling was going to the past, was, looking over all the stuff from the past. And I found coaching to be something, okay, we can look at your past, but we're not going to dwell a lot on it. And we will find whatever we need to from that and move forward. And I was mostly interested in helping people move forward and take action in their life so that they were really achieving what they wanted to achieve, and it just fit for me. So there's a real distinction between counseling and life coaching, and I'll make another distinction. We do life purpose coaching, which is even more distinct from just life coaching, because we specialize in working with people to clarify their purpose. So we're even more distinct than just life coaches. And from that perspective, you can start to hear a little different. I hope that answered your question. Yes?
How long does a typical session or program with a person take?
Well, that was another thing that I loved about, coaching versus counseling. And one of the things in counseling, is that if you help someone get better, you lose them as a client. And so you didn't want to lose people as a client. Mm-hmm. For me in coaching, it was, let's take someone through the process. And we have an 8-week class that we do, and we have one that we teach them by phone, so people call into a bridge line. So you go through the 6 passages in 8 weeks. I have one starting in October.
October 3rd.
October 3rd, we'll be starting our next class, and it'll, it's really easy. You're in you're home. Call into the bridge line, and I also do it on an individual basis. Brad and I do it on an individual basis. People who are not comfortable in a class environment, but it's really, it's 8 weeks. 8 weeks to clarify your life purpose, to get clear about that inherited purpose, start to identify it, and then get clear about your true life purpose. I mean, it's like, wow, that's so much easier than years and years.
Yes, indeed, yes.
And it will vary somewhat. I mean, I have a husband and wife couple clients who we've been working, we're now going on our 5th year. And because they value the coaching and they're always looking at what's next, we're always building, right now, for most of those years, it was about how they could build their own business, that they were in business together, to be a reflection of their life purpose, what we call a business on purpose. Now they're starting to phase out of that. They're going to be selling that to one of their associates, and now they're looking at, and now what? Because life continues after we sell this business, so they're now looking at what we like to call their encore performance. So it really varies, anywhere from just a few weeks to, to years if it's working for you.
And I'd like to add to that is that after the 8 weeks, it's like you do have, with clarity, you have distinguished your inherited purpose, and you know your true life purpose. You have those two. And what's there is that, you then have to go out and start living it. So that's really where Brad and I talk about where the rubber meets the road, because it's, it's like you've got these new tools and you're not going to be real good at it to start with. And I have a client I've been working with for 3 years. She took the class, she went out and she tried it, and she called me back and she said, I really want to take this deeper. I really want to get this, because, and she would, so we do little half-hour sessions, 4 times a month. And she'll call me up and she goes, now, Ann, I've got this thing that happened in my life. This guy was really I know it can't be my inherited purpose, but let's talk about it. So we talk about it and we go through it, and I'm completely open that it not be, but every time it's her inherited purpose that she's, and her inherited purpose, to give you a more concrete idea about what an inherited, we work with everybody to come up with a statement of what your inherited purpose is. And hers was, I can't rock the boat. I always have to keep things mild and fix. I'm a fixer, I fix everything, and so that people will care about me and love me. So that was hers. So every time when she brought up this incident about this guy was being really rude to her, even her friends noticed it, she said, but I can't be rude. And I went, well, where does that come from? And so with her, she keeps getting it at a deeper and deeper and deeper level, because she really has started to see how limiting the inherited purpose has made her life. And that's one of the things. The inherited purpose just limits life for you. Wow.
Right.
Why would you want that?
Yes, and I don't think that's an uncommon one either.
Yeah,
Don't want to rock the boat. Yes.
Yeah.
Karen, I know you were going to ask something.
Now you said my name. Well, I had a hypothetical question.
Okay, well, hypothetically.
Hypothetically, if you have a daughter and son-in-law and grandchild, which of course hypothetically.
This friend of yours has some daughters. Yes,
they do. And they don't necessarily realize that this is what they would really help bring their life to purpose.
Sure.
Would you start by perhaps introducing them to the book, or what would be a suggestion for, or do they need, I can't just say you guys need to go do this. That's
right.
impossible.
Right.
And so I just was wondering, how do I approach that?
Yeah, I think the book is definitely one of the good options, because people enjoy, a lot of people enjoy reading, and truthfully, a lot of people read the book and never do the exercises. If you want to get the real value out of it, it's in the in the exercises itself. But it's a real non-threatening way to introduce them to a possibility like this. And the other place is to get clear for yourself. Nobody needs this. It's a possibility. I would even say that oftentimes when we think somebody needs something, that's our inherited purpose. Reflecting out there on them. When you can come, I am a strong stand for the possibility of people knowing their purpose and living it. But if I'm not careful, my inherited purpose can, go over and take that over. And now you guys are broken, and I can fix you. And so let's go. And who likes that? So it's really, being sure for yourself that you're sharing from a place of here's a possibility I think would make a difference in your life, and really extending it as a true invitation.
Yeah, thank you.
Which book?
And so anyone else have a question? Please. Okay. Well, a shy bunch. I think we've, yes.
I would like to actually give you my inherited purpose statement, and then my true life purpose statements, divinely inspired statement, so that you get these. We have everyone in our classes write out and define their own, so that you have them as a tool to use ongoingly. And we request that you memorize them so that it's not something that, oh, well, I think my inherited purpose was something like, that's not for us. You really want to use it, and you really want to use it in very concrete ways. So to give you an idea, my inherited purpose statement is, I must be a good girl and follow all the rules so that I don't get into trouble and people will love me. Now, guess what happens if I start to run late, or I think that somebody's not going to like me, or, oh, I'm not following the rules, or, Now, it's not a bad thing that I follow the rules. It's not bad at all. You want me on the highway with you. I follow the rules. So, but there are times when following the rules just doesn't fit. I've said this before, if someone, is dying and I'm rushing them to the hospital, you want me to put on the flasher lights, you want me beeping the horn and running red lights safely, but you want me to do what it takes to get that. But my inherited purpose would not allow me to do that. It would go, now follow all the rules, do everything, don't rock the boat, don't get into trouble. So it really will limit, and I've noticed that very much for myself, that it limited life for me. Now, my divinely inspired purpose statement goes like this. A life on purpose is a life of authentic, creative soul, reaching for the stars through love, fun, and wisdom. Now, in that, I deliberately chose authentic and creative. Now, authentic was there for me because I grew up in the South, and I was taught, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all, And so there was always this kind of thing that being authentic was not really that well thought of. It'd be better to be nice than authentic. It was better to be, well thought of than to be authentic or real. And so it took a long time, years and years, for me into my 40s before I got, oh, I can be authentic. I can still be nice, but still be authentic. And then I chose reaching for the stars because that's part of, for me, fits in with soul and divinity. And then I went for fun, love, and wisdom. So when I said Zumba is fun, it really is part of my life purpose, to be doing something fun. And love is one of my very highest core values. And to use wisdom, to know when to use love, when to use fun, so that you use it all. So that's where, having those two tools for yourself when you go out into life. And I have them memorized. I don't, because let me tell you, when I have an inherited purpose attack, it is not good. It is not good. And in those moments, if I don't have it memorized, do you think I can remember what my inherited purpose is? So it's really, really important to know those from that perspective, and it's very powerful tools.
A great story and a great way to sort of bring it all back. And I really appreciate you being here today, Ann, and you, Brad. It's been wonderful, and we're looking forward to your seminar this afternoon. And thank all of you all for being here today. It's been wonderful.
Could I just get a show of hands of people who are planning to come, be here at 2 o'clock?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock for the seminar? The reason I'm asking is it really, the seminar works best if there's, obviously somebody shows up. but about six or more people. If it's less than that, it just doesn't, the energy, it's meant to be a participatory type thing. So we'll be here at 2, and if there's 6 or more, we'll have the workshop. If not, we'll be open to having, individual sessions if anybody wants to schedule that. So thanks for having us.
Hey, thank you very much, and thank you all, and namaste.
Thank you.